documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on The Fact Today, only on 18.
A world without tomatoes is like a string quartet without violins. Lauren Cohen, 1994 to 1992. Fruit and vegetables.
APC governors say they will back whoever President Muhammadu Buhari supports. Senate to appeal ruling nullifying Section 84(12) of Electoral Act. Women suspend protests as House of Representatives. Promise action on gender bill. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky to address Swedish Parliament on Thursday.
Today, as part of our responsibility as a security institution in Nigeria, especially the lead security agency in issues related to internal security of the country, we have deemed it necessary to get Nigerians and the whole world abreast of achievements in line of fighting against petroleum-related offenses, bunkering, and the likes. Most offenses of bunkering or sales or movement of adulterated petroleum products, we have 13. Suspects arrested, 29. Number of cases under investigation that we are still closing up on some members of various gangs who are involved in these crimes. We know we are still going to get more suspects, but for now, under this, we have 18 cases under investigation. And as we continue with our investigations, we're going to get more of these suspects who are fleeing already, and anywhere they are, we're going to get them. Cases charged to court, 21. Petroleum products forfeited to government after due processes and without order, AGO 112,900 liters of AGO forfeited to government after due process, and we have got court order. Low poor fuel oil, LPFO, forfeited to federal government, 30,000 liters. And of course, PMS, the common PMS, 9,900 liters forfeited to government. This year alone, between January and February 2022, we have 5 cases charged to court. We have 4 suspects arrested, and products forfeited to government, federal government. We have a whole load of a Mercedes-Benz truck. We have 45,000 liters of AGO, 45,000 liters of crude oil forfeited to federal government of Nigeria.
The IGP also commended his team for the success and achievement in Rivers State and other parts of the country, calling for synergy synergy amongst them in curbing activities of illegal bunkering in the region.
The Inspector General of Police, Federal Republic of Nigeria, IGP Usman Alkali Baba PSC Daga, MPM FDC, has commended the efforts of the task force under the leadership of DCP Usman Jobrin Kamfani for intensifying effort to curb this economic sabotage that is eating deep into the Nigerian economy. And the IGP is seizing this opportunity to reiterate commitment towards fighting all forms of criminality, including the protection of government and public critical assets, in order to curb economic sabotage and restore a healthy environment back to this country. Therefore, I want to say without mincing words, at this point in time, that we want to urge hoodlums and other criminals and those who are having mind to join criminals to continue to trouble Nigerians to please stay clear.
Some of the suspects also spoke to ATN.
I bought it at Amausa. I bought the product from Amausa. And we were caught by the IGPs.
Kerosene. You know, say they load kerosene for you. You can't allow them put fertilizer on top.
Yes.
So where we won't carry our go?
No, that Benin road, na Benin. Carry bunker.
You can't carry bunker. Where you carry from?
Down Ahoda.
Where they carry and go?
Ongo Abuja.
A Dutch court has rejected a case brought by 4 Nigerian widows against oil giant Shell over the husband's execution by the military regime that ruled their country in the 1990s. The accused Shell of involvement in the arrest, detention, prosecution and eventual execution of their husbands who opposed the group's exploitation of oil resources in Ogoni, southern Nigeria. The widows' complaints alleged that Shell had been involved in the corrupting witnesses in the trial of the so-called Ogoni 9, who in November 1995 were convicted by a military tribunal for involvement in the murder of 4 Ogoni leaders. But the Dutch court ruled that their position was based on interpretation and supposition, and that they had no evidence to back their accusation. Witnesses had testified to the court that they had been signed prepared statements and had been coached to incriminate the defendants. In the return for the promise of payments and jobs, they said they had been told that the money they received came from Shell. All the defendants insisted that they were innocent of the charges against them, and rights organizations, including Amnesty, have argued that their trial was a sham. Lead counsel of the Incorporated Trustees of the Ogoni Developmental, Employment and Industrialization Initiative, Kobara Bomne, says punitive measures should be applied to strengthen the property bill 2021, which is in the consideration in the River State House of Assembly. The bill seeks to make every woman entitled to an equal share of family properties with demand in the family. Kokbara noted that such law would be most effective if punishment is streamlined for people or traditions that disrespect the law. He made a statement in an interview with ATN.
There are traditions that are quite repugnant to the sharing of the family properties by a woman. And at this instant, you see the woman becoming scared of instituting or instituting a matter against maybe their family members. So in this respect, what I am also suggesting in the compliance with what he has just said is that there should be a punitive measures to this effect, whereby if a woman is deprived of such a right, this will be the penalty for it. Possibly we will call it the punishment sections of the law. It's not just enacting the law, but there should be a punishment to that effect. So in that very respect, we are of the view that there should be a punitive measures so that women will be sure of their right in the share of
the coordinator River State Response Team on Violence Against Women and Children, Dunkpa Kote Tombari, has criticized the hydrocarbon pollution remediation project and the federal government over alleged negligence of Ogoni people in the course of the remediation process. Tombari, in a statement, said that the federal government failed to make provisions to sustain the people of Ogoni pending the conclusion of the cleanup exercise. The call came in an interview with ATN as the world marks World Water Day on the 22nd of March 2022.
In all this, Ogonis are still eating from this because there is no alternative provision. Look at the loss of the source of livelihoods. Ogoni people are traditionally farmers and fishermen. With the development and with the supposed cleanup in place, people have lost their sources of livelihood because people can no longer, when you go to the river, you cannot get anything. When you go to the farm, your crops are not doing well. These are some of the things that the team that sat and did a comprehensive work on Ogoni said, look, in doing this remediation and cleanup, there is an urgent need to provide for the people so that they don't die before this cleanup process is started and completed. Okay. And now this is what High Prep had neglected. It is what the Ministry of Environment have neglected. And I will say it is what the federal government has neglected because these are federal government agencies.
Social commentator Pat Obiene has asked the West African Examination Council to prosecute the leadership of the schools recently banned for engaging in examination malpractice in River State. According to Pat, the ban is not enough as a punitive declaration because education is too significant to the Nigerian society. He expressed his view during an interview with ATN.
Same government shut down 1,000 something schools. So, in fact, we are tempted to conclude or think that these 35 that have been shut down are among the earlier 1,000 something that was shut down. But because there was no punitive measures that followed just the face value shutting down, just like it is now. So we are appealing to the state government that if you want Rivers people to take you seriously, that this is a good gesture. We want to see that there is a monitoring team to ensure that, in fact, the public should be challenged, that if the names are published, in fact, they should even face prosecution because in the first place, it's a crime. Yes, it's a crime. For you, false representation is a crime. As a student of law, I know that. False representation, in other words, you don't represent what you prefer to be. That in crime, in criminal law, is a crime. So the state government should just go beyond just the registration. They should prosecute them because education is believed all over the world to be the bedrock of social politics.
On his part, a staff of Ignatius Ajuru University of Education, Port Harcourt, Dr. Daniel Progress, is calling on parents and well-meaning institutions in the country to see the wrong in examination malpractice and rise against it.
To solve this problem, parents, individuals, governments, corporate organizations must see it as a problem that needs.
Has blamed the fall of standard in the country on wrong appointments made by the presidency. He said the experts and professionals in different fields should rather be made to head various ministries in the country and not necessarily politicians. He stated this in a chart with ATN.
People. So it's a case of
incapable leadership. The leadership is not capable, does not have the capacity to tackle the problem we have at hand. And what President Buhari would have done is to bring in experts, keep away some bit of politicians. If he is patriotic and desire to see Nigeria move to the next level, like he has always claimed, he should bring in professionals. We saw during the time of Jonathan, during the time of Yar'Adua and Jonathan, people like Okonjo Iweala, people like big-time professionals were brought in to rescue Nigeria. They did their best. But in the case of Buhari, we are not saying all we have as ministers presiding over ministries are politicians completely. And that is not in the best interest of this country.
Public affairs analyst Walozie Solomon Alozie has urged Nigerians to oppose any form of godfatherism in choosing leaders ahead of the forthcoming general elections in 2023. He advised the citizenry to go for credible and reliable candidates and not for those candidates imposed on them by political giants. Alozie said this in a recent interview with ATN.
Play by the rules. You must ensure that the processes of selecting those who become are clean, are clear, and are devoid of godfatherism. That is one very major bane of our politics. If you don't have a godfather who can speak for you, you cannot aspire to become whatever you want to become, even if you're qualified, if you have all the competencies of this world. So I believe P2B is speaking from experience, and he's speaking to the political parties. It is time for political parties to jettison this godfatherism. It is time for political parties to look at the ingredients that these candidates make up and look at the greater good and ensure that people who are more productive, people who are more competent take up these positions, because at the end of the day, their decisions and their policies will affect.
Many shops have been destroyed in a fire outbreak at Akbongbo Market in Lagos Island. The fire, which broke out on Wednesday morning, has caused a gridlock on the Echo Bridge. The cause of the inferno is yet to be determined as of the time of filing this report. However, the federal and Lagos fire services are at the scene of the incident, trying to put out the fire. In a tweet via its Twitter handle, the Lagos State Traffic Management Authority announced that the fire outbreak has resulted in the slow movement of motorists and advised that they use alternative routes. You're watching the news on Atlantic Television Network. We'll take a short break. When we return, we'll continue with the rest of the stories. Who's on the prompter? Ubong, are you the only one there? Hey, the prompter is getting slow. Then it will not come up. Makes the reading not really flowing. That's not the top of the story. You're telling me to stand by. Okay. Welcome back. This is still the global news. The Federal Executive Council has approved the sum of 92.12 billion naira for the construction of a second rail runway at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja. The approval of the council comes a day after President Muhammadu Buhari inaugurated a new terminal building at the Murtala Muhammad International Airport, Lagos. Minister of Aviation, Senator Hadi Sirika, disclosed the approval of the fund on Wednesday while briefing State House correspondents at the end of the virtual council meeting presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari at the presidential villa in the nation's capital. According to him, the approved fund will be spread over a number of works to be carried out at the airport within the period of 12 months. The Federation Accounts Allocation Committee has shared 695.03 billion naira to the three tiers of government as revenue for February amid plans by the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation Limited to deduct 242.53 billion naira by subsidy. The FAAC Director Information Olajide Oshodun disclosed this in a communique after a virtual conference. From the amount inclusive of gross statutory revenue, value-added tax, non-mineral revenues, and excess bank charges, the federal government received 236.177 billion naira. The states received 190.007 billion naira. The local government council got 140.612 billion naira, while the oil producing states received 23.750 billion naira as derivation. 13% of mineral revenue and cost of collection received to 23.989 billion naira, and transfer and refunds got 80.498 billion naira. The lingering foreign exchange scarcity in the country has continued to worsen, even as the exchange rate on the parallel market is inching towards 590 $1. According to the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, development may lead to massive job loss in the manufacturing industry, among other sectors. Development comes over 8 months after the Central Bank of Nigeria stopped the sale of forex to bureau the chain operators and promised to boost liquidity in commercial banks. Checks by ATN show that the exchange rate stood at 585 naira per dollar and 785 naira per euro on the black market, as against the 582 naira per dollar last Friday. This is just as banks have also limited customers' access to forex, placing a cap of $20 per month for online transactions. The House of Representatives Ad Hoc Committee on Recovery of Outstanding Debt owned by oil and gas companies have given the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, now Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, 2 weeks to defend its indebtedness in the federal government to the tune of 3 trillion naira. The committee, which approved the NNPC's request for extension of time at its investigation hearing in Abuja, also invited the Central Bank of Nigeria and Federal Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning over the debt. The committee had on March 15, 2022 began the investigation based on report of the Nigerian Extractive Industrial Transparency Initiative, while the NNPC and its subsidiaries are said to owe the federal government a total sum of 3 trillion naira in crude oil sales and taxes. 77 oil companies operating in Nigeria owe 2.6 trillion naira. The chairman of the committee, Nkiruka Onyechocha, decried the huge sum of money belonging to the government had been stacked in individual accounts, causing paucity of funds to finance the budget. The House of Representatives has urged the Nigerian Customs Service to adhere to the accurately measured 20 kilometers from the Idiroko border at Ehuba community in Ipokia local government area of Ogun State. The House also asked the Border Security Agency to allow non-petroleum commodities like biscuits, cement, soft drinks and other consumables to go beyond 20 kilometers from the borders so that the people can conduct their legitimate businesses with ease. Also, the House urged the federal government to provide palliatives to the border communities in Ogun State and other parts of the country to ameliorate the sufferings caused by continued closure of the land borders. These resolutions were based on the motion moved by the members of the House, Kolawole Lawal, titled Need to Relocate Customs Land Border Road Checkpoints Idiroko to an accurate 20 kilometers away. The federal government received a total of 6.4 million applications for its Empower Badge C Youth Empowerment Program. The Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Sadiya Farouk, stated that 510,000 applicants had been enrolled, while 490,000 will come on board. President Muhammadu Buhari was on one-day working visit to Lagos State on Tuesday to inspect ongoing works in the state. and to commission some projects. Our Lagos correspondent Godwin Sunday tells us more on this story.
For us in Lagos, it is a new day and a new thing is happening here in Lagos as the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is here today to commission the Lagos terminal here in Lagos Airport. Seated in the auditorium are dignitaries as well as governmental officials from all across walks of life coming to commission this project alongside with Mr. President. We want to say from our end, we say, Mr. President, you're welcome to Lagos.
Lagos was thrown into wild excitement today with the arrival of Mr. President to Lagos. Lagosians took their shekere and also other dancing instruments and entered the road as they begin to celebrate with the President on his arrival and his epoch achievement so far. The day started with the arrival of dignitaries and government functionaries for the epoch August event holding in March. Before long, the President arrived to give the ground opening for the commencement of operation of the International Terminal 2 in Lagos. And this is coming exactly 40 years after the first terminal was built in Lagos.
Agriculture, telecommunications, and other critical sectors is yielding massive results, and the people of Nigeria are now increasingly attesting to benefiting from the associated dividends. Starting from the year 2015, when we commenced our first tenure in office as government, we have been deliberate and consistent in identifying and investing in critical projects that will improve the standard of living of our people, as well as...
In attendance, also to grace the event and give a rounding speech, is Executive Governor of Lagos State, Babajide Sanwo-Olu. Immediately after his speech, the President proceeded to the business of the day, which is unraveling of the masterpiece and a top-notch architectural design, which is the International Terminal 2, built in Lagos.
Lagos nílé ó dára ó mú wa o.
It is no longer a mirage or an illusion that Nigerians lack maintenance culture. Will this edifice be maintained in the years to come? Only time will tell. But for the meantime, this is the second biggest terminal in Africa and the biggest terminal in West Africa. But we hope and still pray that this one will live up to its expectations and the facility will be maintained by those charged with the responsibility of maintaining airport and aviation properties.
My name is Godwin Sunday, and I'm reporting for Atlantic Television Network, Lagos.
Thank you, Godwin, for that report from Lagos. Now ahead of the March 26th National Convention of the All Progressive Congress, the party's governor says they will back whoever President Muhammadu Buhari supports. The governors came up with the resolution on Wednesday after a meeting with President Muhammadu Buhari at the State House in Abuja. Led by the chairman of the interim committee of the party and governor of Yobe State, Mai Malabuni, the governors say they have strengthened out decisions ahead of the March 26th convention. Chairman of the Progressive Governors Forum and governor of Kebbi State, Atiku Bogodu, told State House correspondents that Buhari has last month indicated that he is in the favor of the consensus mood for selecting candidates for the party's national position. According to Bagudu, this is why the governors will support any process and leads to the consensus. Meanwhile, the PDP Governors Forum, comprising all elected governors of the People's Democratic Party, has held its regular meeting at Aba, Abia State. The party at the meeting reviewed the excruciating hardship and suffering being meted out to Nigerians by a failed APC-led federal government. The near collapse of the APC as a viable political party, the readiness of the PDP to take over and offer qualitative leadership options to rescue the nation. In a communique issued by the party, the forum, amongst other things, urges Nigerians to reject the APC, a party run undemocratically by a committee contrary to the constitution. The PDP also expressed concern and alarm over various reports and claimed by incidents of stealing of crude oil ranging from 80% to 95% of production made by industry practitioners, and called on federal government to set up an appropriate mechanism to reverse this trend and bring perpetrators to account. In attendance at the meeting are Governor Aminu Wazari, Tambowa, Sokoto State, Chairman Governor Okezie Ikpazu, Abia State, Vice Chairman Governor Yeso Wike, River State, amongst others. Away from that, the North-South has divided in the People's Democratic Party over zoning at the 2023 presidential ticket is widening. Presidential aspirant Aminu Tambowa, Sokoto State Governor, said that instead of talking about zoning, the party should give the ticket to candidates that can win the election. But Southwest leaders of the main opposition at the meeting hosted in Ibadan by Oyo State Governor Seyi Makinde insisted that South should produce the presidential ticket. Their position in a sync with that of South governors and leaders expressed on Monday at their meeting in Uyo, the Akwa Ibom State capital, saying that the PDP should give the ticket to the South-South zone, which is in its stronghold. Meanwhile, 13 PDP governors also met in Umuahia, the Abia State capital, with the issue of zoning likely on the agenda. Meanwhile, the leadership of the People's Democratic Party has nominated 3 governors, Samuel Otom, Darius Ishako, and Ifeanyi Ugwuanyi, as members of the 37-member committee to determine the zoning of parties' 2023 presidential tickets. The decision to set up the committee was taken at the party's National Executive Committee meeting. The committee will also work out modalities for the sharing of positions at Senate President, Speaker of House of Representatives, Secretary to the Government of the Federation, and other leadership positions in the 2 chambers of the National Assembly among the 6 geopolitical zones. In a statement on Wednesday by the National Organizing Secretary of the PDP, Omar Bature, The party also listed all their members to include former governors Ayafayoshe Ekiti, Sule Lamido Jigawa, Ahmed Makrafi Kaduna, amongst others. The party said that the committee will be inaugurated on Thursday at the Abuja National Secretariat at the PDP at 11 a.m. Still on the party, the People's Democratic Party says the Buhari presidency and the All Progressive Congress are running from their shadows and haunted by their failures in governance. PDP's position is predicated on the outburst by the Buhari presidency on Tuesday against the party for asking President Muhammadu Buhari to address the lingering field crisis and cautioning that the unrelenting culture of arrogance, impunity, suppression and corruption by the APC administration. The party stated this in a statement by National Publicity Secretary Dakpo Olobungba. The PDP holds that the EndSARS peaceful protest signifies the resilience of Nigerian youth against injustice, suppression and insensitive system being foisted on the nation by the APC administration. In other news, the House of Representatives has resolved to appeal the judgment of the Federal High Court in Umuahia, asking the Attorney General to delete Section 84, subsection 12 of the newly passed Electoral Act 2022. The House also asks Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice Abubakar Malami to stay action on the issue until all appeal process are concluded. The decision was reached by the House following motion which came under the matter of the privilege by a member of the House, Honorable Sada Soli Injabia, informing the Green Chamber of infringement of his privilege by as a member parliament. Ada Ona Ifewado reports that the House also resolved to lay a formal complaint to the National Judicial Council on the matter.
Honorable Sada Sole, who came under matters of privilege, said his right as member of the parliament has been infringed upon by the judgment of the court.
Mr. Speaker, this judgment is not only an insult, but it's an attempt to oust the jurisdictions of the parliament in making laws by directing an appointee of the executive to delete a law made by National Assembly. Mr. Speaker, reference to legislative law reports of Nigeria, Olisa Obakoba San versus National Assembly, page 2100, paragraph 15 reads, courts cannot read into or import into the Constitution what the legislators never intend. Indeed, it is now firmly settled law that courts of law, while interpreting the Constitution or statute, have no power or jurisdiction to read into it what the legislators did not provide for, and also have no power to read out of the statute what it is provided for by the legislator. Mr. Speaker, the judgment given with respect to Section 8412 of the Electoral Act, the intention of the legislature was to address the issue of political appointees, which was never in anywhere in our Constitution addressed. The Constitution was talking about employment, employed public servant or civil servant in federal appointment or in civil or in state appointment. It did not in any way look at the political appointees and their future and their attempt to participate in the electoral process of this country. In the wisdom of the legislature, crafted that in order to address and to give level playing ground for all participants.
Other lawmakers in their contributions say the judiciary, in trying to perform the functions of the parliament, negates the principle of separation of power, and that act should be condemned in its entirety.
I'm taken aback that in the Constitution, where there is separation of powers and where we have been made by the provision of the Constitution for us to make laws, that somebody is trying to do our job. I had expected that whatever that the judiciary would do is to interpret, and in the course of interpretation, can still refer back to the National Assembly to say, please, do this.
Honorable Barrister, come back quickly.
But not asking that the executive to do the job of the National Assembly. So that offends the spirit of separation of power. So I felt that this House should look into it and condemn it in its entirety, and also raise an issue, possibly, apart from appealing this judgment, also write a petition to NJC. We have to act. And how do we act? Is that we appeal the judgment as an interested party, or the Parliament file a suit, a French suit for that matter. However, we can take our position further by complaining formally to NJC on the judge who gave this kind of judgment. Because it is obvious the judge actually ultra via his power. And of course, even as a parliament, we have no disciplinary power on the judge. So we must formally report the judge to his boss, which is the NJC. However, we must save time now, act, file an appeal, or file a French suit. We still have the time to nib it on the board.
Meanwhile, the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice Abubakar Malami says the deletion of the Section 84, subsection 12 of the Electoral Act 2022 is still a work in progress and is being considered as such. He said this while fielding questions from State House correspondents after the weekly Federal Executive Council meeting on Wednesday. According to him, while the possibilities of appeal is not in doubt, government creators and the Law Reform Commission responsible for the codification and gazetting of the laws are collaborating with the Office of the Attorney General to ensure that any addition made to the law is in line with the provisions of the law. In the meantime, the Senate has called on the Inspector General of Police, Usman Baba, to investigate and prosecute foreigners who maltreat Nigerians in various parts of the country. They made this call in reaction to a motion by Senator Bio Barakume Dioge Eremonio. During plenary in the upper chamber of the National Assembly in Abuja, Senator Degi Eremonio raised a motion for the urgent need to check the alarming trend of inhumane treatment and torture of Nigerian citizens by foreign nationals. He referred to a case of brutality meted against one Friday Indubisi who works with a security company and two others, including a Chadian attached to another security outfit in the Gudu district of Federal Capital Territory. According to the lawmaker, the trio were seriously brutalized over an allegation that they stole iron rods, which led to the death of the Chadian national. He explained that a Lebanese nation work with one of the companies ordered and carried out the torture in a bid to get a confession from them. House of Representative Minority Leader Ndudi Elumelu has described the former Senate President Bukola Saraki as a visionary leader who has the qualities to lead Nigeria in the promised land. Elumelu said this on Tuesday in Abuja when the former Senate President paid a courtesy visit to the PDP House of Representatives caucus to declare his intention to run for presidency in 2023 general elections. Correspondent Matthew Atongo was there for ATN.
While welcoming the former Senate President Bukola Saraki to the PDP House of Representatives caucus, the House Minority Leader, Honorable Ndudi Elumelu, described the former Senate President as a visionary leader who has gone to every senatorial district in the country and understands every constituency has what it takes to rule Nigeria.
Excellency, my colleagues are happy with you being part of us. They welcome your interest in showing up, which means at least National Assembly will now fully be known as a body to be reckoned with, that will have assets, those who have gone through the tutelage of lawmaking, that they have what it takes to rule this nation. They understand every constituency. They've been there. You've had opportunity to go around to all the senatorial districts during your time as Senate President, either attending one function or the other. And given that, we have no doubt that you have all it takes to rule this nation.
According to the House Minority Leader, the ruling party APC has given the PDP and Nigerians every opportunity to take a decision, stressing the importance of unity among the PDP family as the only panacea to claiming power back in the 2023 general elections.
There are opportunities that APC has given PDP and the Nigerian people to take a decision. But our worry is, how are we united as a party? How are we keeping our cool by not talking anyhow on ourselves? That is our worry. We have the opportunity. So I want to beg that maybe all of you that are showing interest to lead us to the next promised land should have a way of talking to yourselves. We will imbibe unity. I pray that we will try and restrain ourselves from talking down on ourselves, because it's only when we are united that we can assess that opportunity that is before us of taking over this country.
While declaring his intention to run for presidency in the 2023 general elections, the former Senate President Bukola Saraki said Nigeria deserves to be better, and it is the collective efforts of everybody that will make that happen. According to him, the only solution to the current economic and security situation in the country is through good leadership that will create an enabling environment for business activities to strive, which will in turn have positive impact on the nation's economy.
You all know where we are as a country today. And I will not be exaggerating when I say as a country, if we do not do something right, we're inching very close towards being a state that has a lot of challenges. You battle it every day when you're in chambers, the issue of insecurity, lack of jobs for our people, and the cost of living that we're already seeing today. And you know better. We're at a time where we must look at what it needs and the kind of person that is required to take us out of this mess. We don't have the luxury of wishing that anything or anybody can. You all know that today, the level of debt profile that we have, and over 90, probably 85% revenue to debt profile, government alone cannot take us out of this mess. The only way we can get out of the mess we're in from an economic point of view is having an environment that brings in investment, because government is only 30% of GDP. No matter how much budgets you do and you continue to pass over, that money is not there, as you all know. So the question you ask yourself, truly, how do we get out of this mess? We can only get out of this mess if we have leadership that is visionary, that understands the issues.
Former Senate President, who said there is disunity in the country, appealed to the PDP family to support him to become the president of the country, adding that he will change the narratives.
Today, the country is so disunited. That is the reality. I know a lot of other aspirants who talk to you or might have spoken to you, talking about how they can unite this country. I'm sure a lot of them are very capable. We are lucky in our party that we're very capable people. But sometimes the affairs of men, the affairs of nations, when a time comes for a particular person to play a role, I believe today, not by my choice, not by my making, but by the byproduct of where I come from, a true reflection of a Nigerian, I can be that bridge between the northern part of this country and the southern part of this country. I believe also I can reach across the religious divide of Muslims and Christians. I also believe I can reach about the divide of the older and the younger, and reach across the most important divide between the private sector and the public sector based on my background.
From the PDP House of Representatives caucus, I am Matthew Atsungu, reporting for Atlantic Television Network.
Welcome back to Port Harcourt as we continue the news now. As the 2023 general election draws nearer, the 2019 presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, has declared his intention to run for president in 2023 elections. The Waziri of Adamawa stated this while declaring his intention at the International Conference Center on Wednesday in Abuja, describing the 2023 elections as a referendum to decide whether Nigerians want greatness or continuous destruction, saying it is a choice between two paths, the path of unity and progress or the path of division and backwardness. He claimed that the ruling party, the All Progressive Congress, wants to divide the country along the political, ethnic and religious lines so that they forget to blame them for the rising inflation. Atiku said under the APC President Muhammadu Buhari's administration, Nigeria is sinking ship that must be rescued urgently. Women groups protesting against the rejection of the gender bill by the National Assembly have suspended their protest for the next 7 days. This was after the House of Representatives promised to review and revisit the bills. The leadership of the House of Representatives on Tuesday met with protesting women who gathered their National Assembly premises to protest the rejection of gender-related bills in the ongoing constitution review process. The leadership delegations was led by the Majority Leader, Al-Hassan Ado Duguwa, who was accompanied by the Deputy Majority Leader, Peter Akpantoso. Amongst others, the Majority Leader assured them that the House is working on the demands and appealed that the House would, within the 9 working days, conclude work on the matter. The protesting women had crossed the gates to the National Assembly early Tuesday morning and began their chants before they were stopped by the security agents from making their way to the chambers. The Federal High Court in Abuja has directed the initiation of contempt processing proceedings amongst the Minister of Transportation, Rotimi Amechi, following complaints that he flouted an earlier order made by the court. Justice Donatus Okorowa gave the directive on Wednesday on being informed that Amechi allegedly violated an order by the Maintenance of Status Quo issued on January 22nd this year in a suit filed by a group, the Incorporated Trustees of Citizens Advocacy for Social and Economic Rights, challenging Amechi's handling of the process of appointing operators of the International Cargo Tracking Note in Nigeria. In a suit, CASA alleged, among others, that Amechi had manipulated appointment process to the benefit of 2 local and inexperienced firms, MedTech Scientific Limited and Rosie International Nigeria Limited. Listed with Amechi as defendants in the suit are the Bureau of Public Procurement, the Attorney General of the Federation, MedTech Limited and Rosie Limited. Ruling Justice Okorowa agreed to suspend proceedings in the main suit, noting that once the issue of contempt is raised, the court must suspend proceedings. A Federal High Court in Abuja has fixed April 11 for judgment in suit seeking for declaration of the seat Representative Yakubu Dogara vacant on account of his defection to the All Progressive Congress. Justice Donatus Okorowa, who fixed the date, said though the judgment was earlier scheduled for today, it was not ready. The People's Democratic Party has asked the court to remove the former Speaker, House of Representatives, Dugara, as member representing Das, Tafawa Balewa, and Bugoro federal constituencies of Bauchi State over his defections to APC. While the PDP and its Bauchi State chairman, Hamza Akuya, are the plaintiffs, Dugara, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, the Attorney General of the Federation, Independent National Electoral Commission, and the APC are first to fifth defendants respectively in the suit. Dugara had, on July 24, 2020, defected from the PDP to the APC when he submitted a resignation letter to the chairman of the Bugoro C Ward in state. The plaintiff, through their counsel, Jubrin, said the virtue of Section 68, subsection 1 of G of the Constitution, Dugara, by defecting from the party that sponsored him to the 9th National Assembly before the expiration of his tenure, ought to vacate the seat, as he was no longer qualified to partake in the activities of the lower house. Police authorities in Lagos have warned personnel serving in the command against any form of extortion, human rights abuse, and incivility towards residents of the state. The Commissioner of Police in Lagos, Abiodun Alabi, gave the warning during a familiarization tour to Area G headquarters in Ogba and Area H headquarters in Ogodu. He said that the Police High Command has provided several welfare packages for all cadres of personnel and worked hard to ensure salaries were upgraded. Alabi stressed the need for personnel to reciprocate the gesture by effectively carrying out their duties in the most professional way. The number of people killed by bandits in Kora local government area of Kaduna State during a series of attacks on Sunday has risen to 34. This toll was confirmed by the Kaduna State Government Chairman of Kwara Local Government Council, Matthias Seaman, had pegged the figure at 26 on Monday. Given an update on the attack, the Commissioner for Internal Security and Home Affairs in the state, Samuel Arua, said that the unidentified assailants attacked Tostigen, Akbang, Kontaga, and Kodako communities, all within Kagoro chiefdom of Kwara local government on Sunday night. He explained that 34 dead bodies were recovered by security operatives after search operations and detailed checks in the general area, adding that 2 military personnel are among the 34 casualties. You're watching the news on Atlantic Television Network. Suit ahead. Roll the headlines. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky to address Swedish Parliament on Thursday. Stay with us.
Anchor on the facts, breaking news and in-depth interviews on a wide range of topics.
Atlantic Television Network, home for in-depth reportage. Facts, professionalism, all the news you need. Atlantic Television Network. Atlantic Television Network.
Atlantic Television Network, anchoring facts.
Great to have you join us back on the global news. And now we move over to foreign stories. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has been invited to address a special NATO summit on Thursday discussing the Russian invasion of his country. According to the reports, this will be an opportunity for allied leaders to hear directly from President Zelensky about the dire situation facing the people of Ukraine because of Russia's aggression. Zelensky's spokesman, Shaya Inskevorov, confirmed that the Ukraine leader will be taking part in the summit and addressing it. Zelensky will seek help in ending the Russian invasion. Interfax, Ukraine quoted the spokesman as saying the NATO official said members would examine with Kiev how the allies can reinforce their support for Ukraine. The summit coincides with a G7 summit and a European Union summit, which will also be held in Brussels. Brian Houston, the co-founder of the popular Australian worship centre Houston Church, has resigned after 2 women filed complaints of indiscriminate behavior against him. This was revealed in a statement released on the church's website on Wednesday. The church acknowledged the change is needed and also revealed that it had commenced an independent review of the ministry's governance, structure and processes. Houston was accused of having behaved inappropriately towards 2 different women on their separate occasions over the past decade. In a conference with the church's global staff last week, the current head of the ministry, Pastor Phil Doyle, said the 2 incidents included an inappropriate text message and a hotel night encounter. In an earlier statement, it was revealed that the alleged text message was sent to a female staff member by Houston who was under the influence of sleeping tablets at the time. However, the women involved made no reports of any sexual activities during the encounter. The Taliban has ordered girls' secondary schools in Afghanistan to shut just hours after the report reopened, sparking confusion and heartbreak over the policy reversal by the hardline Islamist group. Taliban spokesman Malo Sangboni told reporters when asked to confirm reports that girls had been ordered home. When the Taliban took over last August, schools were closed because of the COVID-19 pandemic, but only boys and younger girls were allowed to resume classes 2 months later. On Wednesday, the order for girls' secondary schools to resume appeared to only to the partial observed, with reports emerging from some parts of the country, including the Taliban's spiritual heartland of Kandahar, that classes would restart next month instead. In entertainment, veteran actor Kanayo Okanayo has cursed those behind the spread of his death rumor. The visible upheld thespian in a video shared on an Instagram page revealed the workup to see posters announcing his death on social media. The baffled KOK, who said he was tagged in a poster that had about 5 of his photos in RIP, cursed the masterminds. He said behind they would leave beyond the next 7 days, thanking friends who have called to check up on him. KOK confirmed his hale and hearty, while he reiterated that the curse laid on the culprit. In sports, Manchester United have held positive talks with Ajax coach Erik ten Hag about the vacant manager's job at Old Trafford. Ralf Rangnick has been in charge of the misfiring Premier League giants on an interim basis since Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was sacked in November after nearly 3 years in charge. According to reports, the talks with Ten Hag had been positive, reporting that the club chiefs were believed to be impressed by his vision, but it's understood that too early to talk about favorite for the job. Other names in the frame include Paris Saint-Germain boss Parochio Pachosnio, Sevilla manager Jolan Lapeggio, and Spain coach Luis Enrique. Chelsea boss Thusmon Tacos was mentioned as a possible candidate due to the turmoil at the London club following sanctions imposed on Russian owner Roman Abramovich, but he has reaffirmed his commitment to the Blues. Ten Hag, who took over at Ajax in 2017, won the Dutch league title in 2019 and 2021, and his team was currently 2 points clear of PSV and Dogoval on the top of the table. And that's the size of our package this wonderful evening. Another look at the major stories. APC governors said they will back whoever President Muhammadu Buhari supports. Senate resolved to appeal ruling nullifying Section 84, subsection 12 of Electoral Act. Women has suspended protests as House of Representatives promise action on gender bill. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has been invited to address Swedish Parliament on Thursday. Thank you for staying tuned. I am Namdi Uzuku. That's the size of our package. We wish you a wonderful evening, and as we go, may you also enjoy the rest of your evening.
Of Wish 99.5 FM and